Hey guys, what's going on? This is Wyatt Vaughn with the New Orleans Junior Journalism Program. We're back doing our Saints preview. I'm here with
Chris Taylor
and
Philip Petty.
we're talking Saints football. After a week off last week, they earned that bye in the wild card round. The Saints are back in action this week for the first time since week 17. We are playing the Philadelphia Eagles back in the Dome. We got the number 1 seed. We got a bye. We have home field advantage throughout. Quick thoughts to start off, Phil.
I think it's going to be a tough game for the Saints this week against a hot Eagles team as soon as Nick Foles took over. This Eagles team, they look incredible. So I think it's going to be a tough game for the Saints. And, yeah.
Chris, any opening thoughts?
I agree with Phil. I think it's gonna be a dogfight for sure. You know, the Eagles have been hot. Nick Foles he's taken over and he's shown why he helped them win a Super Bowl last year. And I think it's gonna be a dogfight. Saints do what they got to do. They could definitely win.
Yeah, so one of the biggest storylines heading into this week is that the Saints and the Eagles have already played this season. Back in Week 11 in the Superdome, the Saints were on a big winning streak. The Eagles were struggling, and the Saints won by 41, 48-7. They absolutely blew out the Eagles, so much so that the Eagles are actually now accusing them of running up the score and using that as motivation, which, you know, if I was an Eagles player, I would do so as well. Do you think we ran up the score a couple weeks ago?
No, I don't think we ran up the score, except for probably one play. It was a 4th and 7 play when Sean Payton decided to go for it, and we were already up by huge points. But besides that, I don't think we ran up the score.
Yeah, so the Saints held the Eagles in that game to less than 200 yards and went for over 500 yards. Are we going to see that kind of discrepancy in the yards, like a blowout this time around, Chris?
No. That Eagles team, it was a totally different team. They didn't have Darren Sproles in the backfield. Golden Tate was just getting used to the offense. He had just been signed 2 weeks earlier, and now that's Nick Foles. Carson Wentz, he's out, he's injured, and it's going to be a totally different offense now. Golden Tate he's been able to get used to the plays. Darren Sproles back in the backfield. He's probably going to play a good part for them. And Nick Foles, we know he's just been dominating lately, and I feel like the yards should be closer. Like I said, it's going to be a dogfight, and we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, see, a lot of people, when they talk about how the Eagles have changed since Week 11, they look at the quarterback, Carson Wentz to Nick Foles. I actually think it's something different. Although Nick Foles has been a key component in it, I think it's been the offensive line a lot. Because in that Saints game, Carson Wentz got sacked 3 times. He also threw 3 interceptions, which were by product of pressure on the quarterback. In the last 4 games the Eagles have played, they have only surrendered 5 sacks. And when you think about it, they played against Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks last week. They played against J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney a couple weeks ago. And then about a month ago, they played against Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh. And they only surrendered 5 sacks in those 4 games. That's pretty impressive. Well, what kind of role do you think the offensive line could play in this game, Phil?
I think the offensive line will play a huge role in this game. They'll be protecting Nick Foles and as he's trying to pass the ball. And I think the Saints D-line, they need to get to the quarterback so they could force put Nick Foles under pressure and force sacks and force bad throws.
Force turnovers for sure. That's going to be key. Force sacks, not just get the sack, but force the fumble with the sack. You know, Cam Jordan, he's known for that. He's had a dominant season this year, and if he can definitely just get in the backfield, get to the quarterback, force sacks, and force fumbles, then the defense they'll be able to overcome that offensive line that you said has been on fire and put Nick Foles down.
Yeah, so enough talking about a couple weeks ago. That was Week 11. We are way forward in the future now. Round 2, Eagles-Saints. This is a completely different team. It's Nick Foles now. He is 10-2 since the beginning of last year, and one of those games was a Week 17 game where none of their starters played. So really, if you discount that game, you can say they were 10-1. Yeah. He's 10-1 in his 11 to 12 starts with the Eagles, which is extremely impressive. He's played in 5 playoff games overall. He's 4-1, including the 3 last year. His only playoff loss, interestingly enough, is to the Saints. Back in 2013, the Saints went into Philadelphia and beat the higher-seeded Eagles 26-24 on a walk-off field goal. What kind of effect do you think that'll have on Nick Foles, knowing that his only playoff loss has ever come to the Saints?
I don't think it will really play effect on Nick Foles this game. I think he'll just be motivated to get this win this game and put all that behind him and look forward to getting this win this game.
Yeah.
I agree with Phil. I don't think he really would think about that. I mean, I feel like that was right the way when he won the Super Bowl. when he led the Eagles to the Super Bowl. I feel like he really won't think about that. I think he just go on and play a game, and he really didn't play in that 48-7 loss. That might not hit him as much as it would the other players, but I feel like he's going to come in and just do what he has to do.
Yeah, so, I mean, since that game that Nick Foles lost to Saints, it's really been a Cinderella story. He was with the Chiefs for a short period of time, wasn't starting, thought about retiring, didn't retire. Next season he goes to the Eagles, wins a Super Bowl, becomes Super Bowl MVP. And that's kind of been how the Eagles are the past 2 years, kind of underdogs. They really are kind of like a Cinderella story. All season, really no one expected them to make the playoffs after starting off 7-7. I think that's a big part of this. The Saints can't underestimate this Eagles team. I think that is a huge part of it. I think you saw the last Saints loss, other than the Panthers game, obviously, the Cowboys game. I think that's what happened there. I think the Saints kind of underestimated the Cowboys, and the Cowboys came out and took it to them. And I think the Saints need to start off fast this week. What about you, Phil?
Yeah, I think they need to start off fast against this Eagles team, and I also think they need to force pressure on Nick Foles and do good on defensively. Start fast and do good on defense. They should be scoring high in the first half and having the Eagles trying to play keep up with them.
Yeah, I think this game definitely has a chance to be a blowout. If, like you said, if the Saints can come in and do what they have to do, and the offense is on fire as they were during that 10-game win streak, if we can do that, and if our defense can hold the Eagles to field goals or things like that, no touchdowns in that first half, and we can get the jump on them early, that can really be a big part in us winning the game.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, like I said earlier, Cinderella story, a lot of people are underestimating this Philadelphia Eagles team, but people forget this is a Super Bowl winning roster.
It is.
Most of the players on their team are good enough to win a Super Bowl because they did it last year. They have one of the best rosters in all of football. Why are they getting underestimated like this, Chris?
Well, when they started off terrible. People expecting them. They just won a Super Bowl, and they thought they were going to come out firing. The roster didn't change that much. But I think the thing is, most Super Bowl teams, the following season, they kind of have an off season, and I think that's what kind of happened with them. But with the trade, and when they got Golden Tate, lots of people felt that trade didn't work in the benefit of the Eagles. But Golden Tate, he's a great run after catch receiver, and he can definitely make plays. He's a great route runner, and I think that's going to be a big part. And if he can come in and do what he needs to do, the Saints can't underestimate him. An entire Eagles roster, like you said, they're a Super Bowl winning roster. They're all good enough to win the Super Bowl once again. So we cannot underestimate, as we did with the Cowboys. And we just got to stop, and we got to do what we need to do and just come in and dominate. And if we can do that, we'll be okay.
All right, so what are some Saints' keys to victory? We've been talking about players a lot. What if the Saints do these things, they win? What are they, Phil?
One thing, as I keep mentioning, force pressure on Nick Foles, force turnovers, do a great job on defense, and, yeah, they got to start off fast also.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree. Dominate. No, just dominate. That's the one word. You want to dominate on the defensive side. You want to dominate on the offensive side. You want to put up a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. You want to get to Nick Foles. You want to force sacks. The cornerbacks, they need to get some interceptions on Nick Foles. If we can get pressure in the front seven, and our cornerbacks and our safeties will be able to get in the backfield and actually get interceptions, force bad passes, and force incompletions. That's going to be the biggest thing, just dominating.
Yeah, so I think my key to the game for the Saints, I think they have to take advantage of a banged-up, lackluster defensive backfield for the Eagles. The Eagles have really been banged up in the defensive backfield since the beginning of the season. They really haven't had many players since the beginning of the season in the defensive backfield. I think when you look at some of the past games they've won, the Bears last week didn't really take advantage of that. Mitchell Trubisky, although he looks like he's a promising young quarterback, he's not there yet, and he couldn't take advantage of them. Jared Goff, same thing. He looks like a promising young quarterback. He couldn't do it a couple weeks ago. So I have confidence in Drew Brees. I think that if he can take advantage of that lackluster defensive backfield, I think the Saints will be good to go. So speaking of injuries for the Eagles, the Saints are pretty healthy this week. I mean, other than, some limited participants in practice, but they're really not injured. It's really, they are injured, but it's more of a precautionary just to make sure they are 100% going into the game, which is very smart for the Saints. So, No injuries. That's a
Yeah,
good
that's really
feeling.
good.
That's a
That
good
hasn't
feeling.
happened this entire season. Basically, you've been talking about the offensive line being injured, and I feel like that too. It really was 1 week off, but a lot of people didn't play in the Panthers game for precautionary reasons, and that really helped the Saints offensive line. And I mean, we need our O-line. We know how powerful they are. We know how important they are to this team, protecting Drew Brees and blocking for Kamara and Ingram.
Yeah, and the Eagles have like one of the best defense in National Football League.
Yeah, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. They are some beasts up there. That's going to be another key to the game, protecting Drew Brees, because the Eagles can really get after the quarterback. So since the Saints have no injuries, we've got a full roster to pick from here. Key players for the Saints this weekend. We'll start off with you, Phil. Who you got for the Saints?
My key player is Cameron Jordan. He needs to get aggressive and attack the quarterback and at least get some sacks on Nick Foles and force some fumbles.
Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. Cam Jordan, one of the best defensive ends in the league, versus Lane Johnson, one of the best tackles in the league. I'm looking forward to watching that. What about you, Chris?
My key player is a veteran, Ted Ginn Jr. He's going to be important, stretching that defense. And, you know, I've said this before. He is able to get deep. And, you know, Michael Thomas, he's known to be more of a mid-third receiver. And he's been getting doubled a lot in the past couple games, especially against the Cowboys and last week against the Panthers. They were to the point where they were triple teaming to stop him from getting the ball. But if Ted Ginn Jr. can come in and stretch that field and get some deep passes, use his speed on the routes that he's known to run perfect routes. If he can do that, that can really help the Saints win.
Yeah, so my key player for the game, it goes back from a couple weeks ago. If you look at the Saints' last 2 times, they gave up a ton of points. Maybe not a ton of points, but a lot of points, a good amount of points. It was the Steelers. They gave 28 points. And the Rams, they gave 35 points. Feels like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And both of those games, the secondary wide receiver for each team, Cooper Kupp and Juju Smith-Schuster for the Steelers, they both had huge games. They both had over 100 yards. They both had touchdowns. They both had huge games. So my key player is Eli Apple. I think if Eli Apple comes to play and can cover up on Nelson Aguilar and Golden Tate, because Alshon Jeffrey is probably going to get blanketed by Marshawn Lattimore. You know, if Eli Apple could come in and lock down that second receiver, I think the Saints defense should have no problem stopping them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, Golden Tate, he can run some beautiful routes.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of interesting games this weekend, guys. We are in the divisional round. 4 great games. We are going to be giving our predictions on all 4 games. We'll start off with you, Phil. Let's go to the Colts and the Chiefs.
I honestly think the Colts are going to win this game. I think they're going to beat the Chiefs. I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is playoff ready, playoff bound, but I think the Colts are fit to beat the Chiefs. The Colts have a great offensive line. And you know what the Chiefs don't have? They don't have a great defense. So I think Andrew Luck is going to shred their defense.
I've been saying that all year for the MVP, but nobody listens to me.
But I agree with that. I like your point, but Patrick Mahomes, he's confident. He said it himself. He said that this is going to be a different year. And yes, this is his MVP.
It's everyone's MVP in a couple weeks.
What?
You'll see.
When he wins, I'll tip my hat off to him because to me, both players deserve a Drew Brees, and we're going to get into that later. But I'm not going to go into this debate again. But yes, I think Mahomes, their offense is different. This is a different year. This man, he has a dominant season. 51 touchdowns. Yeah, that's amazing. All the yards he has. He's had a good season. I think he's going to continue it in the playoffs, being the Colts and Andrew Luck.
How many touchdowns did you say? It was 50? You know who's never had 50 touchdowns? Not even this season. Drew Brees has never had 50 touchdowns. But to get with my prediction, so you went Colts, you're going Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm also going Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs have too much talent offensively. I think Patrick Mahomes, I think he's going to pick apart this Colts defense. This Colts defense has been good, but they haven't really been tested by a great offense, and I think they're going to find that great offense on Saturday in Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. I do think it'll be a close game because I think the Chiefs defense really isn't there. There's not much there. I think Andrew Luck is probably third in the MVP race behind Brees and Mahomes. Not in that order, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think Luck will definitely have a field day with the porous Chiefs defense. But I think Mahomes leads them to a win in the end. So next game in the AFC, Chargers Patriots. We'll start with Chris this time.
Chargers. I feel like that's going to be a great game, honestly, because the Chargers are, to me, the most complete team in the AFC, second most complete team in the entire NFL behind the Saints. And if they can come in, I mean, really the thing that makes this a good game, you can never count out Tom Brady. You can never count out Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They've had a week off, 2 weeks off to prepare for whoever they were going to play. And I mean, if you give Bill Belichick time to prepare like that, same with Sean McVay and same with Sean Payton.
Yeah.
If you give those coaches time to prepare for you, you can't underestimate them. Yes, they had a bad season, and they didn't have a dominant season as they're known to have. But I feel like you really can't count them out. But still, I'm going to have to go with the Chargers just because they have a defense and they have offense. They're on both sides of the field. They're a full team, and that really going to give them the edge, honestly, overall in the game and allowing Phillip Rivers to move on to the AFC Championship.
Who you got? Chargers, Patriots.
I gotta disagree with you, Chris, on that one. I think the Patriots are gonna take this one. You can never count against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. These two are like a duo, a great duo, and you giving them a week off to prepare for the Chargers. It's not gonna be pretty for the Chargers. I think the Patriots gonna come to show up, even though they didn't play also well in the regular season. I think they're gonna come to play in the playoffs. Because Tom Brady, he's a totally different man when it comes to the playoffs.
Very true, very true. And this is honestly the toughest game to pick.
This is.
Like me and Chris said last week, the Chargers have been the toughest team to pick all playoffs, especially last week with the Ravens. I got it right. Obviously, he was wrong.
Well, Lamar,
we
could talk about it. Lamar Jackson, he played, to me, he didn't play that well in the first half, but in the second half of that game, he showed that he's a promising young quarterback.
Fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter, third quarter, he didn't play that one third quarter, but I feel like they started getting more comfortable. They ran the ball a lot. They handed it off a lot in the first half. And I feel like if John Harbaugh, yeah, if he can trust in his quarterback and actually put his offense in his hands and allow him to do what he needs and allow him to run no read option plays and even pass. He showed that he can pass the ball a little bit. I'm liking Lamar Jackson. I'm very confident in him in the future.
I want to say something. The offensive line for the Ravens, they gave up 7 sacks.
They did.
Sacks.
The offensive line did play terrible.
They gave up 7 sacks. I think that's one reason why they took it out.
Yeah, so back to my prediction. Yeah. Chargers, Patriots, an extremely tough game. And honestly, on all fronts, the Chargers are a better team. The Chargers are a more complete team. They have a better offense, a better defense. But you just can't count out Tom Brady. You have to give Tom Brady the benefit of the doubt. And it seems like the Patriots do this every year. They kind of struggle through the regular season. You know, there's questions going into the playoffs, but then they always somehow sneak into a bye.
No.
Their first game is always in Foxborough. And they always make it to either the conference championship or the Super Bowl. You want to say something before I pick?
You know who that reminds me of?
Who?
LeBron James.
That's true.
He's always questionable in the regular season, but he didn't flip that switch.
And
when he gets to the playoffs and he gets to the finals somehow, some way, especially last season. I mean, But just show you GOATs. That's what they do.
Yeah. So my prediction, as I said, you can't count out Tom Brady, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think the Chargers have too much firepower. I don't think they were in that physical of a game last week. I think it was not a blowout, but they were comfortably leading pretty much the entire game until Lamar Jackson got the ball for the last time, pretty much. I think the Chargers didn't get really banged up. I think they were never really in discomfort in that game. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think they're pretty rested for having a game last week. I think Phillip Rivers is finally going to get to that conference championship.
Yeah.
And I think he's finally going to get to that Super Bowl, but that's for next week. Yeah. Next game, Cowboys-Rams. Phil, start us off.
Oh, to me, this is a tough game.
It is.
This is going to be a tough game, hard-fought game. But in L.A., the L.A. Rams, they really don't have a fan base. Like, most of the people from other teams travel to L.A. and watch their team play. So I got to give it to Dallas Cowboys.
Ooh,
that's tough.
I know, but – just like what you said earlier in the podcast, the Saints underestimated Dallas.
Yeah.
I think the Rams are going to underestimate Dallas too. that the Rams really don't have a great run defense. And the Dallas, they're going to give the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, and he's going to eat. And plus, Todd Gurley, he's not 100%, and that's one major key factor.
Well, as far as who's going to win the game, I have to give it to the Rams. Their offense is dominant. Their defense, they've been dominating this season. And yes, the Cowboys, last week they looked great. I was kind of happy we didn't have to play them. And I feel like me and Wyatt talked about it. I feel like we got the easier route to the NFC Championship with the Eagles because the Cowboys they look scary. I'm not gonna lie, they look scary. Yeah. But the thing that's gonna kill them, they play so aggressive. Their defense is very aggressive, and with a wide receiver threat, with Jared Goff, and they have Todd Gurley, they're gonna run that defense down. They're gonna get tired, and it's gonna get to the point where the Rams offense is gonna run right over them. And I mean, that's the thing that's going to really get them to win, and I'm choosing the Rams.
Yeah, and I think when I was talking about the Saints underestimating the Cowboys a couple weeks ago, I don't think it was just that. I think the Cowboys actually match up better with the Saints than the Rams because I think when you look at the Cowboys' defense, they've got a lot of speed.
Yeah,
those young linebackers, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, they're going to be great linebackers for a long time in this league. But their main attributes, they are so fast. They just get sideline to sideline. And I think when you look at the Saints' offense, not to say that they're not fast, but I would say they're not as fast of an offense as the Rams. When you look at the Rams, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Todd Gurley, guys that can absolutely fly, and not the Saints don't have guys that can fly. I would say the Rams lean on their speed more, and that's why I think the Rams' offense is going to do really well in this game. I think they're going to overshadow the Cowboys' defense, and I think the Rams will win this game. But I do think the Cowboys have a chance to win this game, and I think their way to win this game, I think they need to give the ball to Ezekiel Elliott on maybe almost 2 times out of every 4 plays. You know, I think Dak Prescott, he's not a good road quarterback. He's going to need to be carried through this game by his defense and Ezekiel Elliott. And I think if Ezekiel Elliott can have 100 to 150 yards on maybe 25 to 30 carries, I think the Cowboys could win this game. But so I'm going with the Rams. You were going with the Cowboys. Rams. So, last game, you know what game it is. Saints, Eagles.
Yes.
Who are you going with?
Got to go with my favorite team, the Saints.
Yes.
I think the Saints are a better team than the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nick Foles, he will come in the dome ready to play, but I don't think it'll just be enough against this dominant and ready Saints team. And I think the Saints are going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, though. I think it's going to be a very good game. It's going to come down to the wire.
Score? You're going to give your score?
Score, I'll give it 31-24.
That's good. That's a pretty good score. And this one we can definitely all agree on. Saints will win this game.
Wait, I haven't picked yet.
He's going to pick the Saints.
You never know.
He's going to pick the Saints.
You never know.
He's just not stop. But anyways, the Saints, we're back in the dome. I know who that nation is ready to you know the decibel rate, we're usually at about 100, 110. We're getting 150. That's all I'm saying. We're getting 150. I know that's loud, but they're ready. It's finna be loud. And I was watching the videos all over Twitter. Reggie Bush, when they do the little they drop the fist and everybody do the who that chant. It was loud, and I feel like it's gonna be even louder than that. And I feel like that's gonna be a big key home field advantage. And we know, I'm gonna say dome field advantage. We know when the Saints get in the dome, that defense, they're fired up. And that offense coming fired up. Michael Thomas, Kamara. I know Ingram is ready to eat. And, you know, after Sean Payton came in the locker room with that money in the Lombardi Trophy, I know I'll be happy. I know I'll be hyped. Just to win 3 games, and I get $225,000 and almost a ring that costs about $1 million. I know I'll be hyped. And I know the entire Saints locker room is hyping that's going to be the key. Just if they can come out and dominate and just we're hyped. And you got to be hyped and be ready to do everything they can in the dome. And my score is definitely going to be a dogfight, like Phil said. I totally agree with that. But I think we're gonna come pull out an edge with a score of 31 to about 21.
All right, so both of you guys going with the Saints, pretty close. I'm also going with the Saints. I think when you look at it, I think the Eagles don't match up well with us. I think, like I said earlier, lackluster defensive backfield. I think Drew Brees can take full advantage of that. They've played on the road 5 of their last 6 games. They really shouldn't have won last week. They got outplayed. Yeah. I think the football gods, I think it's going to catch up to them this week. And I think the Saints are going to win. Not a blowout, but comfortably. I'll go with 28-20. Saints win. I don't think Nick Foles will be able to do a ton on offense, but a little bit more than that last week. So before we go, you weren't here last week, so you actually didn't get to give your final MVP
I think
thoughts.
this is the final week that
This
actually
is
This
the final week we'll be talking about
week.
the MVP because you weren't here last week. So,
I'm
thoughts.
I'm still sticking with my Drew Brees. Drew Brees is gonna win MVP. He broke it like almost every single record in the record book. Drew Brees
Well, not this season. He didn't.
Yeah, I know, but
He broke records though. Okay,
sure. Records, like great records for only the greats, all-time greats.
Okay.
And I think Drew Brees is gonna win the MVP, and the people who vote for him, they're gonna give it to Drew Brees.
Okay, so you're actually predicting that he will win, not
Yes.
that he should win. Okay, so just your predictions. We don't need to go into it because it takes too long.
I read an article by Jeff Duncan,
Oh.
and he said that it'll be a tie.
That's fair.
It will be co-captain. It will be co-MVP. And I feel like I read it. I read the article, and both players have legitimate reasons they should be MVP. And you can't count off another player. Yes, Mahomes didn't have a defense. He carried them to the playoffs. Drew Brees didn't have the best receivers. Carried them to the best. He didn't. I mean, he had Michael Thomas, but I'm saying
but
the
to
Chiefs had a better. If you compare the wide receiver,
But no. But to compare Drew Brees' wide receiver core to Patrick Mahomes' defense, that's
no, I'm just saying. I'm just giving points. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying both players had legitimate reason they should be MVP.
They absolutely did.
This only happened 2 other times, and I feel like this is going to be the third. Mahomes and Brees will be co-MVPs. I feel like that should be happening. To me, that's the right way to do it because both players deserve it. Honestly, both players deserve it. If you give them co-MVP, I think that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I don't think there can be co-MVPs.
I think they could.
I don't think you can have 2 of the most valuable. It's kind of like best friends. You can only have one best friend. You know what I mean? You can't have multiple best friends. So I don't think you can have multiple of the most valuable of something. And in my opinion, if you could have two of the most valuable of something, I don't think it's even close enough to give co-MVPs. I think Mahomes. It's clear that Mahomes is the MVP in my opinion. I think he will win it. I think he should win it. But we'll agree to disagree, and that's all we've got for you this week. We will be back next week, hopefully talking about the Saints in the NFC Championship.
They will.
They will?
The NFC Championship.
All right. Confidence.
Facing the Cowboys.
The Cowboys. Oh, that's rough.
We'll see.
We'll see you guys next week. I'm Wyatt Vaughn for JRNOLA. This is Chris Taylor. This is Phil Taylor. Phil Petty. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace. We out.
Yeah. Peace.
Thank y'all.